Good evening. We have new details tonight about yesterday's standoff just east of the downtown core. James Daniel Monroe is currently wanted by local law enforcement. Bart Padiasic has more.
Originally from Barhead, James Monroe moved to Lloydminster 1 year ago. He is wanted for his involvement in the situation with police on Sunday, as well as being unlawfully at large from Edmonton.
RCMP went to a residence to deal with James Daniel Monroe, a 33-year-old male, as a result of a domestic dispute that had occurred on Saturday during the day. While our members were there was a confrontation with Mr. Monroe.
It was believed Monroe closed himself inside his home. While police tried to contain the situation, Monroe escaped through the back of the residence. They believed he was armed at the time.
This is the scene where James Monroe had the standoff on Sunday. According to neighbors, for the 4 months he lived there, they had no problems with him or his girlfriend. They were even considered quiet.
They were good people. They turned their music down at 11 o'clock if they ever played it on the weekends, so I had no issues with them.
Larry was one of the neighbors evacuated during the standoff. To her, it came as a bit of a shock.
Guns drawn. I mean, we had no clue what was going on. I took off down the street. The rest of my family stayed here at the house. They were basically evacuated later.
RCMP want to warn the public about Monroe.
Mr. Monroe should be considered to be dangerous. He should not be approached, and he may be armed. So we are cautioning the public not to approach him if they do find him.
James Monroe is 5'10", 166 pounds, with brown hair and blue eyes. He has a tattoo on each of his hands. The public is asked to call 911 immediately if they see him. Bart Padiasic, Newcat News.
A community is in mourning after a young man was killed over the weekend. Cold Lake RCMP responded to a 911 call early Saturday morning at the Elizabeth Métis settlement after an incident left 22-year-old Derek John Jackknife in critical condition.
Responders arrived on scene and located a critically injured adult male. And he was subsequently treated and taken to Cold Lake Hospital, and he was pronounced deceased.
The cause of death is still undetermined. An autopsy is scheduled for Tuesday morning, but RCMP do have a resident in custody.
We arrested a young offender male, and he's currently at Cold Lake Detachment. He has been charged with second-degree murder and is scheduled to appear in Cold Lake Provincial Youth Court on Wednesday.
It's believed the victim and the suspect are known to each other. Kitscoty RCMP and fire rescue from Blackfoot were called out to a scene of a single vehicle accident on Highway 16. 18-year-old Michelle Stone of Kitscoty was found dead at the scene. It's believed Stone was traveling westbound on Highway 16 when she drifted across the meridian and her car rolled down the embankment. The accident is currently under investigation. Anyone with information is asked to call the Kitscoty RCMP. And poor visibility may have played a role in a fatal head-on collision yesterday afternoon. Mounties were called to the two-vehicle crash 3 kilometers west of Rosetown. The westbound car had attempted to pass a transport truck when the vehicle collided head-on with an oncoming SUV. 47-year-old Douglas Jansen and his 19-year-old daughter Allie were killed. 5 people, including a 13-year-old girl, Cassidy Jansen, were transported to hospital in Saskatoon. However, the teen later died from her injuries. North Battleford Fire and Emergency Services is advising residents to stay away from the North Saskatchewan River. Water levels are expected to rise upwards of 2 meters this week because of heavy rain over the weekend along the eastern slopes of the Rockies. Emergency Services staff say the combination of increased flow speed, muddy waters, and a slippery shoreline makes for extremely dangerous and potentially fatal conditions. For the most up-to-date watershed information for Saskatchewan, visit the website on your screen. And also on the Alberta side, all stream flow advisories and flood watches have now been lifted and water levels have begun to fall. The city's weekly council meeting was today, and it brought up some controversial topics that haven't been discussed in 10 years. Elise Cox reports from council chambers.
In today's council meeting, council retreated behind closed doors to discuss a legal matter that they received on adult entertainment and the bylaw that is currently in place not allowing nude entertainment within the city. And the city and Lakeland College will begin cooperating to provide security for Bud Miller Park by allowing Lakeland Security to patrol the park during irregular hours in hopes to lower vandalism. And with some changes to the Municipal Election Act, some changes will be applied to the coming election. Voters will have to provide government-issued identification when voting or 2 valid pieces of ID, and the city will not consider mail-in ballots this election. We'll have the full story on some of these council updates tomorrow on Newcap News. Reporting outside council chambers, I'm Elise Cox.